Jake Paul has dropped brand new training footage for his upcoming fight with Anthony Joshua and has shocked the entire MMA and boxing community. In the clips, he looks stronger, faster, and more explosive than ever before. Joe Rogan has now responded as well, saying that whether people like Jake Paul or not, it's clear he's taking this matchup extremely seriously. His improved power and technique have everyone paying attention.
Now about doing Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul. What? Jake Paul apparently wants that fight. And he agreed to, I think it was 99% to 1, where Joshua gets 99% of the money and he gets 1%.
Bit of glaze in that question, and you know, that seems like a very friendly question to Jake, but you know what? It's a fair question. I'm not mad at the guy for phrasing his question that way. And again, yes, that's because Jake has a massive name and a massive spotlight. Without that, Jake is not fighting Anthony Joshua in his 14th fight. But on the other side of that, the risk involved with fighting Anthony Joshua here, and some of the fights that Jake had in his first 10 or 11 fights, most pros were either having or having worse opponents for. So when people discredit Jake's career by being like, he didn't fight this guy, he didn't fight that guy, he didn't fight a number of this contender, number that, look at your favorite fighter in their first 14 fights and you pick out the opponents that they had and the level of them. Sure, you'll have your outliers, your Vasily Lomachenkos and other guys that fought tough competition right away, but most, and I mean most meaning 95% of the sport of boxing, had tomato cans until he had 15 to 20 wins. Give Jake his credit. He's fought guys that even were better on his resume than some of your favorite fighters, and now he's fighting Joshua this early. That deserves the credit that I know and the acknowledgement that I know Jake is looking.
And it's a lose-lose for Anthony Joshua. However, given all of that, both men are going to make $92 million each. So forget my opinion. Who gives a damn when you can bank $92 million for having a little move around in a boxing ring? Fair play. You can't on that. However, let's talk about it. The reason I say that it's a lose-lose we'll start with Jake Paul first. The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics, like me. By the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself. Everyone say
this isn't a stunt or a YouTube boxing sideshow. Jake Paul is preparing for a legitimate heavyweight threat, and the new footage makes that obvious. Joe Rogan pointed out what everyone noticed first. Jake Paul looks massive. This is not the same fighter we saw in earlier camps. He's added real size, serious muscle, and a level of physical strength no one expected from someone who started as a YouTuber. Rogan even said the transformation is unbelievable, proving Jake knows exactly how dangerous this fight is. Anthony Joshua isn't a joke. He's a two-time heavyweight world champion who's knocked out giants, and Jake is clearly showing he understands that reality.
It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. But anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through and switch them to 12s? But guess these days, anything happens in boxing, right? The boys will follow similar rules to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in November, but that fight was 8 2-minute rounds and 14-ounce gloves. Not similar if it's smaller gloves and 2-minute rounds. Who wrote this for DAZN? It marks the first time Joshua will have contested less than 10 rounds since 2015. The contest is a professional bout and will go on the boys' records. But that being said, this is heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen. And I'm going to give you my prediction right now. Now, we just want to see it because there's a lot of hate out here on influencer boxing. A lot of people have got different opinions on boxing these days. But I want to ask you, do you box? Do you train boxing yourself? Well, if you do, you will understand that footwork is the most important thing in boxing. If your feet is not right, nothing is.
This is going to be the toughest fight of his career.
Sharp, relax.
The most embarrassing fight of his career.
Got a chair across your face.
Yeah, I think he's about to cry.
Good body head. Good, and again.
You look forward to facing off with Joshua. To break down the face-off, what do you think about his size? What did you say anything? Did he say anything?
No, we didn't say anything, but he looks intense, focused, locked in. He's obviously very, very tall. Looking up, my tallest opponent. My eyes are at his, chest level. But yeah, he's locked in. I'm locked in. I don't think there's fear in his eyes or in my eyes.
Yeah, Jake, tell us the difference between your face-off with Gervonta, where you're a head taller looking down, and now looking up at Joshua.
No, it's surreal. All of it is very, very funny, and my neck started to hurt after looking up for a little bit. But this is what we signed up for, and he's very tall, but that means I can use my speed and my size.
What surprised Rogan the most was Jake Paul's speed at his new size. The latest footage shows him darting in and out with unexpected sharpness, unleashing explosive combinations, hammering heavy body shots, and drilling that signature overhand right that has finished so many opponents. Rogan said that even if Jake enters a fight as the underdog, this is the most physically intimidating version of Jake Paul we've ever seen, and that alone makes the matchup compelling. Rogan also noted how Jake is preparing specifically for Anthony Joshua's style. The clip shows Jake slipping jabs, cutting angles, and constantly working on closing the distance without taking damage. According to Rogan, the only path Jake has to victory is to turn the fight into an all-out war.
I don't know what he thinks, but what he does do is he markets himself in the space that he operates in. I don't get this Jake Paul or Logan Paul phenomenon, but I'm not the audience. It doesn't matter what I get. The opportunity for Netflix is that it's a drive to subscribe. They'll pay $100 million, and the wraparound fees that come from sponsorship and the event attendance. We saw that $20 million was generated in gate receipts for the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. So we know this is a $160 million fight. We know that it makes sense to Netflix to do it because in the last fight that they had with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, they developed 2 million new subscribers. The average lifetime value of a subscriber is $900. So if you look at that and say they're going to generate $2 billion in potential increased revenues as a result of paying these fighters $100 million, you can see the metrics of it. They're also retaining their base. They're also moving content into a different space, which is sport. So it all makes sense. It's like the mobile phone industry that I knew very well. Used to sell phones for nothing so people could get the airtime, and the airtime was where the money is. The content delivery is where the subscribers go to, and then they pay their subscription. So we all understand the model. As far as the fight is concerned, oh no, don't be silly. I mean, Anthony Joshua can go in his nightgown and beat Jake Paul. The issue is, does he hurt Jake Paul? How curated it is? I debated it with boxers, with Paul Smith and Duke McKenzie and Spencer about would Joshua go in there with a mindset, which is he knows he doesn't have to get out of second gear, so he doesn't have to do to Jake Paul what people fear he might do, which is knock him into the next life.
But he's not a punchback, Jake Paul.
Yeah, at this level is.
Well, he beat, albeit an aged Mike Tyson. He beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Mike Tyson, when we went out there to do that fight, and Simon gave me a lot of stick for it because I was saying Mike Tyson was actually going to put an end to this Jake Paul phenomenon that was going on. And when Mike Tyson got out the car, when we hit Texas, he climbed out the car and he could barely walk, Jim. He struggled to get up the stairs. I knew that I was in trouble for making those comments. I knew that. I sold the fight and I shouldn't have sold the fight. But this one, Anthony Joshua needs to keep his career alive. And by doing that, he has to get rid of Jake Paul very, very early.
What do you say to the people who say Anthony is ruining his legacy just by taking this fight? Fans don't respect what he's done in the sport already. He's an Olympic gold medalist, 2-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. I sort of sympathize with him because I feel like if he doesn't beat him quicker than he beat Francis, people are just going to write it off. I'll ask you bluntly, have there been any discussions about there's an agreement, there's a secret contract? Have any of those discussions happened regarding this fight? It's an 8-round professional fight. AJ wouldn't have taken it if that was the stance it had to be, if it was an exhibition, if it was you've got to hold him up for 8 rounds. It wouldn't suit Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is going in there to knock out Jake Paul.
But if I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. You can't beat me. And I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I?
He can't afford to fight Anthony Joshua from long range. Jake has to crowd him, push him backward, use his added size, and make Joshua feel pressure. Rogan believes Jake's team understands this completely. That's why every part of training footage focuses on non-stop pressure, close-range chaos, and forcing an uncomfortable fight. But Rogan also added a reality check. A fully focused Anthony Joshua is a nightmare for anyone. He's bigger, stronger, far more experienced, and hits harder than anyone Jake has ever stepped in a ring with. Rogan says the danger is real, and the challenge is just as real.
Did you see Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is happening? Who you got and how?
Man, you got to go with Anthony Joshua. You just got to go with Anthony Joshua on that. I think Anthony Joshua by knockout. Yeah, I think Jake will probably get knocked out in the third round.
Who did Terrence Crawford fight his 11th fight? I don't know. Who did Arthur Beterbiev fight? Jake Paul has found a way to make himself the cash cow early in his career to where we shouldn't care.
Jake Paul has become the fighter right now that everybody wants to fight because right now he is the cash cow. He made $40 million just off of Netflix.
He has found a way to do something with his following, get under people's skin to make people care about these fights.
What advice would you give to somebody like AJ?
That he has a lot of talent and not to get discouraged. He only loses when he quits. When you quit, all the doors of opportunities close. You know what I mean? You have to be game, and then don't get discouraged if you lose. Listen, you just lost. You may have got $30 million. You should give Usyk a kiss and say, can we do this again? Don't let this internalize you. Oh, I can't fight now. This white boy kicked my ass. People are laughing at me. No, he kicked my ass for $50 million or $30 million. I hope he kicks my ass again. But this time it might not work out that way. I'm gonna kick his ass. I just think the more time you lay off, the worse you get. You have to fight to be the best. You have to do it more and more and more.
He beat Wallin, and he beat him convincingly.
Yes,
and that's all he can do. And I think that he should take the praise from that and build from it, but he shouldn't want the criticism to stop because I think it fuels him.
I'm one with you, and I said that to Joshua in one of the interviews that I'd done with him. I said to him, listen, I knew he was very angry with TalkSport and the criticism he was getting from TalkSport, etc. And I had that conversation with him and said, listen, Josh, you should be feeding off that. That's what good fighters do. You feed off that. Go and prove them wrong. That's where your fuel should be coming from. And I think to a certain extent he's sort of done that. I said, look, if people are talking about you, it's a good thing because that means that you're doing something right.
He wasn't ready for Anthony Joshua because Anthony Joshua was a different thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just he's got more one-shot knockout
it was
power.
Bad game
he took it
plan
more
as well,
seriously too.
I know he likes to switch in, but again, this is where the boxing is. If you don't have that kind of intellect in the boxing, that footwork and foot positioning is, put your foot on one side, you're gonna get killed. You put your foot on the other side, you're safe. You can kind of manage the power and see the punches coming. But he kept switching stances by just leaving himself in just the wrong positions.
Yeah, he wasn't ready.
Wasn't
for a guy like Joshua.
Wasn't ready. There was a lot of hype off the Fury fight.
Also, Joshua got to watch him box in the Fury fight, see some patterns. Fury, I think, probably took him lightly.
Yes, I think so.
He's one of the greatest of all time. This guy's never had a boxing match. At the beginning of the fight, he's like, time to go to school.
If Jake gets clipped early, the fight can end brutally. That's what makes this matchup so wild. Jake Paul went from preparing for opponents half his size to stepping in against one of Britain's most powerful modern heavyweights. It sounds insane, but that chaos is exactly the kind of environment Jake Paul seems to thrive in. Rogan wrapped up by saying that Jake might be delusional, but that same delusion has become his greatest weapon. It's the mindset that pushed him to face real fighters and actually win. And judging by the new training footage, Jake Paul isn't entering this fight just to survive against Anthony Joshua. He's entering to win, no matter how impossible it looks. Whether that's courage or pure madness, Rogan says only time will tell.